everybody. This is Diane, your 40-something, tiny bit sore real housewife from Willow.
And this is Marnell, Diane's little sister, and you're listening to La La Land.
No, wait, Moonlight.
Right, Moonlight.
Wait, can we start this episode over?
Somebody handed me the wrong card.
Did you catch Talking Dead last night?
I did it. I did, but I didn't.
So about every 10 minutes, Josh McDermott was like, wait, can we start this over?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So This is Biters, in case y'all haven't figured it out by now.
I thought you were referencing Brian and I totally missed starting the episode last week.
No, that was really funny.
Last episode just completely threw us both off. I mean, when am I ever on the same page as Brian? And when are you ever on the same page as both of us?
Well, and when did we ever limit ourselves to 30 minutes?
Right? Yeah. And Brian and I were like, wow, we're really stretching this one out because we just have nothing good to say. I mean, we could sit here and gripe for another 30 minutes, but
I have some Facebook feedback that we'll have to go into at the end of the episode because there were some people who were feeling the same way.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're a voice of the people and not Paige Schultz.
And Bri left us a comment about this episode to share as well, so we'll have to make sure that we look at that.
We'll have to get that in.
All right, everybody. So this is Hostiles and Calamities, Season 7, Episode 11.
7-11.
Yeah. So just real quick before we hit on the new episode, I was surprised the ratings for last week were actually pretty good. It was 15.2 million in Live Plus 3, so that's a pretty average number.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people gave it a chance.
I forget what it was up against last week.
Was it Music Awards?
Yeah, it might have been the
No,
Grammys.
Wait a minute, because I think the opener was up against the Grammys.
People's Choice, something.
Yeah.
But
of course,
this
last
week
night,
it's going to be up against the Oscars.
Right. Although I was reading today that the Oscars are probably the most poorly viewed episode of the Oscars in 9 years.
Yeah, I heard that too.
It'll be interesting to see how that maps out for Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So, how did you rate Hostiles and Calamities?
I thought it was a very okay episode. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad, especially compared to last week.
Right.
We always kind of have our little bit of complaints about the day in the life of episodes, like Day in the Life of Carol, or but Eugene is just a odd cat. Yeah. He's a odd cat in a Texas top hat. So I really did not mind A Day in the Life of, because I never know how to take him because he looks terrified in front of Negan, and then he pulls some BS out of his back pocket and he walks away with that little grin on his face. I never know if he's actually acting or if he really is that terrified and pathetic, and
I seriously think that we ended up with a real mind bender.
Yeah. So I gave it a solid 3 elephants toothpaste foam explosions.
Well, I couldn't quite bring myself to give it a 4 because I too thought it was okay, but it was way better than last week. And then I looked at the fact that I rated last week as a 2, and I thought, okay, I can up it a little bit. So I gave it a 3.97 out of 5 jars of pickles.
A man after my own heart. I love pickles.
Yeah. Only if they're dill.
Yes, absolutely.
So
there is another kind.
Right, exactly. Well, apparently my husband thinks there are. So, Hostiles and Calamities. Okay, it was obviously Eugene's line to Negan. But I also was thinking about it more, and, this whole episode was full of Hostiles and Calamities, and the ultimate calamity is we don't know who the hostiles are.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know that I believe Eugene is fully Negan, and I don't know that I believe that Eugene isn't Negan.
Okay, so I don't believe that Eugene is fully Negan. I think given the choice, he would rather live in Alexandria with Rick's group. But I do think that he could be a guy that would stand in the corner until the dust settles and praise his allegiance to whoever the victor was. You know?
Well, I think he's kind of a dog. Right?
I love dogs. What do you mean? Is that good or bad?
No, I meant that badly, and I love
Okay.
dogs too. So I think I don't know what to think about Eugene, but we'll get into that more. But I do think, looking at hostiles and calamities, so there were hostiles all throughout the episode, and we don't really know what side they fall on.
Yeah, Negan cannot continue to rule by fear alone. I mean, everyone wants to kill him. It's just that everyone's afraid to be the one to do it or even know about whoever's doing it. Every group on the outside wants him dead. All of its wives want him dead. Most of his underlings want him dead. I mean, how does this keep going? Somebody's just going to bite the bullet and take one for the team. I mean, Rosita almost had it.
I just think, I don't know. I think that we're going to, I agree with Brian's trajectory. I don't think we're going to see all out war this season.
Yeah.
I think it is just rise this season, but I don't know where Eugene falls out. So I really want to talk about that. But anything else on the title before we move forward?
Well, Talking Dead pointed out that kind of the one of the major calamities is the two characters that this episode centered around, Eugene and Dwight. Both of them, are kind of gunning for. They're right under Negan's nose, and hopefully kind of gunning for him, and he doesn't even know. Negan knows everything. How does he not know? Because I kind of think the wife thing was a setup.
Do you think Negan knows and he's just playing? Because he obviously likes to play.
Yeah, I could totally see him being a cat and mousing this.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah,
because he does think he has the upper hand in all situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting ahead of ourselves again.
So what did you rate it?
No, I told you I rated
pickles.
it 3.97 out of 5 jars of pickles.
Yeah, I think the rating was a little high.
Yeah, well, again, I gave the last one a 2, so
yeah.
I felt like I kind of had to rate on that curve.
Yeah.
I did look at IMDb for some stuff for this episode, and it was 9.7 out of 10 on IMDb, which I thought was pretty impressive.
This episode was?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that good.
Yeah, that's surprising.
So, getting into writer and director. Director was Kari Skogland. We've talked about her before, so I'm not going to labor over her. The writer is a guy named David Leslie Johnson, who I'd never heard of before. But here's the kind of cool tie-in. So he's written 2 episodes for this season. He wrote 2 back in season 2 when Frank Darabont was still involved with the series.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that his tie-in is that he served as miscellaneous crew on 2 movies that Frank Darabont directed. The Green Mile, and then a movie called Black Cat Run, which I haven't seen. So it's always kind of interesting to look back and see how these different folks tie into the series. Yeah,
it seems like a lot of them they start off as one thing in the series and branch out to writing or directing or producing or, and they start out as like grips or something.
Yeah, I mean, whoever thought Greg Nicotero would be one of our best directors, but he is. So anyway, so this guy wrote this episode. He wrote Swear, which is the episode where Tara meets the Oceanside people.
Ah.
Back in season 2, he wrote Triggerfinger, which I had to look up. I couldn't remember what episode that was. Do you remember when Rick and Glenn go searching for Herschel and they find him in a bar drinking?
Yes.
It's that one.
Huh.
So I obviously haven't finished my rewatch of season 2, or else I would have remembered that.
Oh, there's just too much good stuff on TV right now.
I know. I'm still a total Walking Dead head. And then he also wrote Chupacabra, which actually was one of my favorite episodes from season 2, partially because it was Daryl centric, but also because there were so many cool things involved in that, like him seeing Merle when he was hallucinating and him having to fight his way back with that arrow through his side and then getting shot by Andrea.
Wow, that really does take me back.
Yeah, so I really liked Chupacabra, so it's interesting that this guy has credits way back in season 2 and now we're just seeing him again.
What, did he get out of prison? Jeez.
Maybe he
5-year hiatus.
Maybe he decided he wanted to trade on his relationships with Walking Dead people, even though Frank Darabont wasn't involved any longer.
That could be it.
And so he's on a couple of other movies. I thought this might interest you. So he, I think he wrote The Conjuring 2, which I haven't seen yet. I've watched the first one and I liked it. He wrote some kind of D&D screenplay that's in post-production. And then he's announced as a writer on Nightmare on Elm Street. So are they doing another Nightmare on Elm Street? Like another reboot?
They better not be.
I think they might be. You might have to go look at his IMDb page.
Oh. I don't think they could screw it up quite as bad as the original, the remake.
Not having watched the remake, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I thought his ties to Frank Darabont were interesting, and that's clearly where he falls into the Walking Dead world. Did you pick anybody for featured cast member?
I didn't.
So
we haven't done that in a while.
I know, because you've been podcasting with Brian. I'm here to get you back on the straight and narrow, sister. So I actually picked the chick who played Laura.
Laura
is the girl with the barcode or the tattoo on her neck.
Yeah.
And I thought she was kind of interesting this time because she actually seemed like she had a little bit of sympathy for Eugene.
A little bit, but she did the way she turned his face so that he had to watch Dr. Carson, during that scene, when they were about to burn his face.
Yeah.
There's still something very sinister about her.
She's still Negan, but I think she had some sympathy for Eugene. So it'll be interesting to see if they draw her in further or if she's just a peripheral character who got some attention because she ended up being Eugene's shadow during this episode.
She's had a couple. I mean, she had the little bit she did with what's his name?
With Ross. With Aaron. Sorry, Ross Marquand is the Marquand is the actor.
The guy that died.
Which guy that died? Oh, Spencer. Yeah, she was flirting with Spencer. Yeah,
she flirted with Spencer. She's had. She had one of the greatest lines. Wasn't it her that said, "Hey, hair top, you like our haircut? You like to watch?" And
yes.
Like, yes.
And we were all like, "Yes." As a matter of fact, he does. And it
was kind of like, I don't know how to react to that.
So Laura, she's played by an actress named Lindsay Register. She just has a little tiny mini bio on IMDb, so I don't have a lot about her, but she was born and raised in the Blue Ridge Mountains. She's been on House of Cards. It sounds like she's got appearances coming up on a Cinemax series. She's been in some History Channel series. They didn't name specifically which ones. And she has a cat named Beowulf.
Oh, that's cool.
Which, Grendel by John Gardner is one of my favorite books. So, yeah.
That's funny. Too bad they didn't name the little sloth knitted toy that Eugene got from the market.
Right.
They should have named him Beowulf.
They should have. What'd he call him? Like Grumbly Gunk or something like
Grumbly
that?
Gunk. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, Eugene. Oh. All right. No, go ahead.
I love Josh McDermott, like watching him on The Talking Dead because he's just so different from Eugene.
Oh,
you know, I feel so sorry for Josh McDermott having to wear the mullet like in his real life.
No, so actually I watched The Talking Dead this time and he was like, I just kind of adapted to it. It is what it is. It's part of my life right now. He said, but there are times that my wife looks at me and says, put a hat on now.
He would own so many like little rubber bands so he could tie it back, so at least he would look normal from the front.
But it actually is his mullet now. It's not a hairpiece any longer. So,
and the really bad thing is I can't tell the difference. Like,
right?
I'm like, just let him wear the hairpiece. Although I'm sure it's wearing a wig and shooting where they shoot. I don't know if I could take it. I think I'd be like, I'll just have the mullet.
I think it's kind of like Jesus. The guy who played Jesus in his first few episodes, Tom Payne, had a fake beard and had hair extensions, and now it's all him. Yeah. I think it's the same thing. I mean, I think you're exactly right. It would be really gross and itchy and horrible to wear a wig and wear extensions.
Yeah.
More so than being itchy, gross, and horrible in 100-degree weather in a summertime shoot, you know?
Michonne and King Ezekiel, I would make him build me one of those cooling systems like they did for the
for that walker. Yes.
Yeah. That's awful. So.
All right. So tell me you're good. We're going old school. We're going good, bad, and ugly. Brian, I'm sorry, but I think it's more positive than fail, and epic, or epic, you know. And that was my thing, but I just think good, bad, and ugly is more positive because ugly can be positive or it can be ugly. Sorry, go ahead.
Or it could be a mullet, which is positively ugly. So my good, I actually had two goods, and my good scene, I absolutely, and that's why I went with the dragon or the elephant's toothpaste for my rating, because I just love his little Mr. Wizard, Bill Nye the Science Guy scene.
Yeah.
Really dating myself with the Mr. Wizard reference.
Well, yeah.
I could have said Beekman's World and made myself a little younger.
You could have said Mythbusters and kept it real, man.
Oh, man. I watched like the first season of that show, and then they got all commercial, and it was weird. When they took on interns and stuff, I was like, no, I lost interest. So I absolutely love that scene. But, you know, just the girls were like, really? You can do that? You know?
Yeah.
And just the way that he walked around and did everything. It was great. I loved that scene because I watch a lot of, like, I'm watching a show right now called Big Little Lies. It's got like Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, how is that?
It's really, really good, but it's super dark. It's I think it's supposed to be kind of a dark comedy, but there's not a lot to laugh at. And I watch like Westworld and Game of Thrones and things like that. And a lot of these things, like dark stuff happens to these people, and there's not a lot of levity. And so when you add in a moment like this where you can genuinely laugh and you can see other characters genuinely laughing and having a good time, you know, I really love that little flash of humanity in all of the darkness that we watch. So,
and this is a very dark show. So, yeah.
Exactly. And so I absolutely loved that scene. And then overall, we talked about it earlier. I love the little subterfuge that's going on with Eugene. You know, isn't he? Does he even know if he is, or is it?
Right.
You know, is he just reacting in the moment to save himself, or is this all part of a larger plan? And the thing that makes me, I kind of think that he was going to try and sacrifice himself for the good of the group when he drove the camper.
Right.
And so I got to think that he is willing to fall on his sword and sabotage the Saviors. And I think that's his larger plan. That's what I think. That's what I hope. But I don't know. Like, sometimes it's like he's just reacting to save himself. And I think that, you know, I don't know if he can get out of that. I don't know if when brass comes to tacks that, you know, he can step in front of someone.
So your good really leads into mine, which is just the whole mind-bending nature of this episode. I was going to say mind F, but, you know, we're trying to keep it clean, man.
Like Little John on the Walk and the Top of Dead.
Yeah, right. So Eugene was part of that, just the whole... it was just all what's going on here. Who can you trust? Whose alliances are where? Are these real alliances, or is this just what we think we're seeing? So I really thought about Eugene, of course, the wives, because I still am not entirely sure that the wives were or were not a trap. and then Dwight setting up the doctor. Kind of all of those things were really messy and complicated, and that was good. It was nice not to have things totally cut and dried.
Right.
The kind of going with Eugene, I mean, some of the things that he did really make you think, gosh, I wonder if he really is buying into Negan's world. Like, saying, I am Negan at the end. Like going up and suddenly just taking all that stuff from that woman at the open market, whatever they call their place where the people who are takers can go and take, you know. The way that his countenance changed when Negan said, you don't have to be afraid anymore.
Yeah.
It was really interesting because I actually have been rewatching seasons 4, 5, and 6, and I just finished the episode where he and Abraham met, where they show Abraham's backstory. And you see kind of what a little sneak he is when he's running away from the walkers, and he's like, help, help. And Abraham comes and just like totally cleans everything up. And then he launches in to the same BS story that he launches into with Negan about being a part of the Human Genome Project and blah, blah, blah. And, having a cure. And
yeah,
it was just kind of interesting watching him be so fearful in that episode where he and Abraham meet. And then seeing that fear again, hearing Negan say, you don't have to be afraid, and wondering, is it all a put on? I mean, I think he's really afraid, but is this buying into Negan all a put on? Is he going to fall on his sword for our survivors?
Right. I mean, he's just another guy in Alexandria. He, everyone kind of treats him down. I don't want to say talks down to him, but Tara's kind of the only one that kind of, he treats him like a brother. So,
and back in that early episode, she did too. She has a bond with him right away.
Yeah. And so, but everyone else kind of just sees him as like the bumbling fool who has some science knowledge, whereas in Sanctuary, he's kind of a big shot,
right? And he actually gets to say he's a doctor, and he's got all the, I mean, a doctor is in a PhD prepared doctor, and he's got all that training. It makes me wonder if some of it's not true. I mean, you go back and you look at Eugene and you kind of wonder, is there some of this that's real? In the midst of all of his lies about who he was and what he knew, is there some of this that's real? Does he actually have one or two of these degrees that he's talking about?
I thought that he was just a science teacher and the rest was BS.
I don't know. I don't remember. And he didn't actually identify what his profession was when he confessed to Abraham and the group that he was lying about having a cure.
Okay.
He did say he wasn't involved with the Human Genome Project. I'm pretty sure he said, I'm not a scientist. But, again, now I kind of look at him, I'm like, I wonder how much of this is true and how much of this isn't.
Yeah.
So so the whole just mind-bending nature of the episode, I really liked. And I liked that you really can't trust anybody's motives. Except maybe Negan's. Negan's motives are always obvious. It's all about Negan.
You can always count on a liar to lie. It's somebody who tells the truth is, who has to be the suspect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and what's funny is I had two of these moments where I'm like, okay, is Eugene this smart? Or, is he so, is he going to fall on his sword? Or is he Negan? Or does he even know? Like, because I kind of think that he could be swayed either way. It was funny, not to get political. It's just a quote. This morning, George W. Bush had an interview, and he said something really good that kind of applies here. He said, power can be very addictive and it can be corrosive. And I kind of think that the more power Eugene has and the more of a big shot he can be around Sanctuary, I think the less he would be persuaded to fall on his sword for Rick and Alexandrians. So
I think you have a point. I mean, he's never had attention from women before. He made that very clear in the episode, and then Josh McDermott confirmed it on Talking Dead. and you're right. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever kind of held him. Well, that's not true. Abraham really held him up because Abraham was all about getting Eugene to Washington. Abraham would have sacrificed anything to get Eugene to Washington.
It was about the mission for him, though.
It was about the mission.
Abraham was still very like, I know Eugene's watching me have sex. Like, he was still, I'm still a big shot, bigger badass than Eugene, and he knows it. And
I agree. I mean, I definitely think that the way that they related to Eugene, even when they thought he had a cure, you're right. I mean, they kind of held him apart.
Yeah.
He wasn't a part of anything.
Yeah.
I think we saw some change. I think we saw some difference in that, when he was taking the Winnebago out to sacrifice himself. And maybe when he was talking with Rick about making bullets.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, I don't think he's ever integrated with any group. And I think that even though this is probably fake, he still has more attention and more credibility in this group right now or he is acting like, than he's had previously. So,
yeah.
All right. So hit me with your bad. I know you said you had a hard time coming up with one.
Yeah. This episode just didn't have a lot of bad to it. And like I said, the only bad part about it, was watching Dr. Carson go head first into the fire. But again, it was the most exciting part of the episode, so I can't really say it was that bad.
So Brian has some comments about that, which we'll read later, but I'm kind of wondering what else Dwight had against him. Why did Dwight screw him over like that?
He still loves Sherry. I think it was to throw the scent off of Sherry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did see somebody somewhere make the point of taking out the doctor in town so that if somebody is injured, it's less lethal. They'll be able to survive. So.
Oh, so that ultimately plays to things if Dwight does end up betraying the Saviors.
Right. It was a strategic move, and it really wasn't anything against the doctor.
It was just convenient.
Yeah. Except on the other hand, I mean, you could say it wasn't against the doctor. It was going to be plausible because the amount of time the doctor spent with Sherry alone, and so it made it all the more plausible. But then again, you'd think Dwight would be probably a little bit jealous that Sherry confided into the doctor.
I think he was. And the doctor actually said something like, I got to know her fairly well.
Right.
And for a minute, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Did they have an affair? But no, I don't think so now. No,
I think it just sort of pushed that button in Dwight that he was like, okay, dude, you just signed your death warrant.
Yeah.
And then he was able to go home and find the note and, was able to frame the doctor for that.
Right.
So.
We know. Oh, go ahead.
We know that it was Sherry that wrote the note. The handwriting matched. Yeah. So.
Do you think we'll see her again, or do you think this is it?
No, we will totally see her again.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I still am waiting for that. This is someone who just disappears and never reappears, and I kind of wonder if she's going to be one of those people.
I kind of have a feeling that she's going to show up in one of the towns. Alexandria, Hilltop.
Or maybe even with the Oceanside women.
Yeah.
Hopefully not with the Garbage Pail Kids.
No, not with the Garbage Pail Kids.
She'll have to forget that she knows English and can write incomplete sentences.
Oh, and she'd have to grease her hair.
Well, so my bad was really... First off, it was somewhat like yours. This was just so much better than last week that I was like, hey, there's really not much that's all that bad. I thought the pace was a little slow.
Yeah.
And I think that would have to be my bad for this episode, is I just didn't feel like it moved as fast as I would like it to. But I think you're right. It also goes with those day in the life of episodes when they do this. And I think what Brian says about having episodes that we need for plot development, character development, this is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely need the relationship between Negan and Eugene, whatever it is, to be established.
So, do you think that Eugene will be the bag over the head?
Oh, are you making a comic book reference?
I am making a comic book reference.
Okay, so spoiler...
I thought last week that it might be, what's his name that went out with Tara and we haven't seen again?
Heath.
Heath. I thought that maybe that would be it, but
Heath may be somebody who disappears who we never see again.
yeah.
Which is interesting because, again, spoiler alert, he actually figures pretty prominently in the comic books for a while. Spoiler alert, as the head in the bag, or the head over the bag. So I can't remember. Did they actually drop someone's head in a bag? Because they killed somebody, turned him into a zombie, and then launched them into Alexandria.
Yeah, they put it was a hostage exchange type thing.
Yeah.
And so when the Alexandrian took the bag off the head, that person got bit, and
I don't think so, actually, because I think Negan actually values Eugene too much right now.
I do too. I think initially he saw Eugene as another fat Joey.
Right.
But now that, Eugene kind of has some knowledge, I mean, he made the bullet, he can make more,
poison
right?
out of cold medicine. That's probably a nod to Breaking Bad, right?
and balloons out of toilet bowl cleaner.
Helium balloons. Yeah, toilet bowl cleaner and rubber gloves.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, and then the whole making the walkers covered in
right. That was pretty cool. I mean, it was kind of a nod to Winslow.
Right.
Winslow. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea of making them impermeable but keeping them affixed to the fence, that was a pretty good idea.
Do you remember when he went into the workshop with I think Abraham?
Yes, there was another walker that looked like Winslow.
Yeah, he'd gotten molten metal over its head, and Eugene couldn't kill it.
Oh, that's right. No, that's a good catch. I totally forgot that.
So yeah, I think it was one of those things in the moment. It was a callback for him, and he went, "I have an idea."
Very good.
Yeah.
What was he wearing on his belt at the end? I mean, it looked like a sword, but it wasn't a sword. It almost looked like a crowbar. Could you figure that out?
I did not catch it. I was just him and Dwight next to each other, kind of like
freaked you out a little bit.
A really bad buddy cop movie, I am Negan. We are Negan.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting is putting them side by side. They really do both have the potential to turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dwight has the potential to turn and befriend our survivors. Eugene has the potential to truly become Dr. Smarty Pants and hang out with the saviors. So that they're kind of mirror images of each other, or foils for each other.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
That is. I really liked what Sherry had to say in her letter too about Dwight.
I'll get there. Okay. So tell me what your ugly is. Is it good ugly or bad ugly?
Why don't you tell me your good ugly? I have not.
Okay, so it was Sherry's brutal letter.
Okay.
That was so hardcore, and it was a good ugly, but just some of the things that she said to Dwight. I actually wrote some of the stuff down because it was so awful.
Yeah. The reason why I let Daryl go, for me, that was the part that I really, because he reminded what you were, and
yeah, so here we go.
I didn't want you to be reminded of that.
You were better than me. She's saying he's not better than her anymore. I let Daryl go because he reminded you of who you used to be. I loved who you were. I'm sorry I made you into who you are. I mean, that's brutal.
Okay, so that makes me remember my ugly, because it's right there. The beer and pretzels.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool.
So she said, you always forget things, and you said that if we ever got separated, we would meet back here, and you'd bring beer and pretzels. Only you probably wouldn't remember because you're so forgetful. And then you see him pull beer and pretzels out of his bag, and I was just like, oh, that poor man.
Well, and I think they were interviewing Denise Huth, one of the producers, and she was talking about how, she doesn't like what Dwight has done, but it was so hard for her to watch this episode because she felt so much empathy for his character.
Yeah.
Because his losses were so huge.
Yeah. Yeah. and he was the architect of his own demise, where he convinced them to run away, and then he had to pay the price, with his face and with his wife. And yeah, he's just it. I don't get me wrong, I love chaotic evil, and I love neutral evil, but I really like sometimes when evil has kind of a
like a good
sad
underlay
backstory.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, that's why that person is who he is,
right.
or who they are and it's kind of their own making, but it still makes them a sympathetic character. So sometimes I like it when my bad guys have a sob story.
Yeah, and I mean, he's definitely got a sob story, right?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go to our Facebook page because I want to bring up Brian's
review
at this point in time, because he has his epic fail, and then he's got some stuff for Rotten Potpourri. All right, so Brian here. Well, my first non-podcasting review of the half, and it wasn't a strike 3, but it was a ball 4, and Eugene got to take a base. I enjoyed the time off from the main group and endless dialogue for some good drama, Atari, and some bullying of the numbers. 3 out of 5 direct-ass reports. So his epic. He loved Eugene taking a stand and growing a pair. This saved the episode, and I love how he's kind of shedding his old skin, even if it is fake, and he's using his power. After all, rank has its privileges. He still shudders under Negan's bat, but walks tall amongst the people, and even to Dwight. Munching a pickle never looked so cool from a mullet atop a staircase, claiming they were both Negan. So his fail, and this is where he talks about the doctor. The gamble of Dwight sabotaging the doctor. Good play indeed for when the war starts. No one to fix injuries. So
there's where I got it.
Yep. Is there a hidden plan from Dwight to maim Negan so he dies from a trauma? We assume that Dwight was setting up a larger plot, but what if it's more of a solo mission like Rosita's? So the gamble is what if? What if they find out? What if they find his wife? It's game over. Epic fail. Negan's trust level for the people he just beat. I get that fear is a motivator, and it's better here than dead, but at some point the pendulum swings back to nip you in the ass. At what point will people just stop, especially when the wives are trying to poison him?
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot rule by fear alone. You have to give them some hope, some you have to placate the masses, is what I'm saying.
Well, and I think that the bigger thing is exactly what Brian says. I mean, at some point people are going to get tired of being terrified.
Yeah.
And there are a heck of a lot more than them than there are of Negan.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Well, so, do you smell that?
I smell it. It's time for rotting potpourri.
Do you want me to start with Brian's, or do you want us to go through ours and save Brian's for the end?
Let's finish up Brian's and go with his first.
Okay. So Rotten Potpourri. What if Eugene wasn't playing and he chose his side? The look of joy on his face, realizing what he can do, his rank and stature, and the amenities at his disposal. He knows now that he is Negan's favorite and isn't tasked on guard duty. His expectations are to be smart and to enjoy the good life. His expectations for Rick were that he was weak and wasn't a good fighter. Made bad choices when people looked down on him or made fun of him. Scott Gimple said people will choose their sides. I hope Eugene chose his for real. He knows nothing of the brewing war, that there are more people to fight, no kingdom. From his perspective, this is as good as life gets.
Good point.
So, and, the thing that was so interesting for me, and Brian's writing potpourri kind of leads to this, is the way that they got to or broke Eugene was so different than the way that they got to or broke Daryl.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, immediately Negan recognized that what Eugene really needed was someone saying that he was good and worthwhile and valuable.
Right. No dog food sandwiches and cold, dark cells.
Yeah, no, whatever he wants. Not lobster, but, and women to fawn over him, even though they're doing it under orders.
And Atari.
And an Atari.
Yep.
Yar's revenge or Yarg's revenge?
Yar's revenge. Brian's review made me think of the juxtaposition of when we started out the episode, when we first see
juxtaposition.
The secret word. So yes, the juxtaposition of when we first see Eugene in the episode, and he is just bawling his eyes out, and his
And
balls
begging
have
for his
shriveled up in his
life,
stomach.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the end of the episode, when he's standing, yelling at the guys, "You want a molten metal burn? Because that's how you get a molten metal burn."
Right.
While eating a pickle. The juxtaposition of where we started from and where we ended up with Eugene is, I think it's absolutely setting us up for something bigger with Eugene, and who knows what it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of possibility with Eugene, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they play this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else you got?
We saw the return of Easy Street.
Oh, God!
Didn't you love how he was bopping his head along?
I was afraid you were going to call me and open with that again.
I almost did. I almost did. So they did mention it on the Talking Dead, where it was just so funny to see where we had it with Daryl and where we had it with Eugene. And they were talking about how they, a couple of them absolutely hated that song.
Austin Emilio was like, I just hate that song.
Yes. And what's so funny is it's so damn catchy that,
my God, no, it's not.
I started singing in my head afterwards. So I'm going to have that stuck with my head for the next 3 days.
Well, that leads into a comment that I made on our Facebook page, which is that I find myself wishing Walking Dead would give the kind of attention to their soundtrack that they did in seasons 4 and 5, because there were so many good songs. And even in I want to say it was season 6, I haven't gotten there yet, but they played a Hozier song that I really love. And now I'm kind of like, Easy Street? We get Easy Street? And Diane Lasora said, I just said the same thing to my friend the other day. Yes, they need to up the soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm not that makes me think I'm not a big cinematography nerd or anything like that, but we haven't had one of those visually stunning episodes, I think, since T-Dog died. And
The Grove was visually stunning.
When was The Grove?
The Grove was the one where Lizzie got killed. Look at the Flowers.
That was before T-Dog died, though, right?
Oh, no, you're thinking about Tyrese's death.
Yes, Tyrese, thank you. Yes.
I don't know. Now I'm going to have to think about that. Because, I mean, that episode was so beautiful. And you're right, visually stunning is a good way to describe it. That's actually based on a book that I have not read yet, but I purchased it, that talks about, flashbacks to people as you're dying, seeing other people who are dead who are coming to welcome you as you're dying. Yeah,
and it was supposed to be his dad on the radio or something. Yeah,
and that's where Gimple got a lot of that imagery.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And I would like to see more of that along with the improved soundtrack. I think they're too focused right now on the fighting and the intrigue and things like that. And so, there are very few little, red balloon moments that episode when
green balloon moments, but yeah.
Is it green?
Yeah.
No, the red balloon that was floating on the water.
Oh, right. Or the red balloon that was floating above the stop sign.
Right. And it's just they've kind of let that go a little this season, as well with the soundtrack.
I agree. I think that it would behoove them to go back to some of that because those were moments that really tugged at my heart.
Yeah.
Even visually sumptuous but horrifying was when Lily walks up on the governor and shoots him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just beautiful to look at visually, even though it's really sad subject matter. And I don't see that they're spending as much time with that. I mean, they could have really made something out of last week's episode, and instead they had that horrible green screen. Oh my God.
I didn't
was
even
so
notice
bad.
It until people pointed it out. Now
oh no.
I'm like, aw.
It totally took me out of the moment immediately.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I think you're right. I mean, I think that really speaks to, hey guys, we need some visual stunners and not so much, I don't know. They need to incorporate the character development that they're working on with some audio and visual stunners to kind of anchor us back into these moments.
Or make someone's death like more profound like that, like Tyrese.
Yeah,
where,
that was amazing.
You know, yeah. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Maybe you'll do that. They'll do that when Eugene dies.
Or, you know, the other thing is, because I just rewatched Coda, which is one of my favorite episodes. That's where Beth dies. Make it so unbelievable and so horrifying that you can't stop thinking about it. I mean, her death was so useless.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, make it one way or the other. Make it so profound or so ridiculous that...
Or shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Beth's really was shocking. I mean, it was...
I mean, it wasn't to me because I know that coda means the end of a piece of music.
Right. But I mean, it just
the way that it evolved.
Yeah. It wasn't like, you know, she got stabbed and it was a long prolonged, you know, death scene or anything. It was just thunderclap, you know, and she's gone.
Well, and I just rewatched the episode where Bob died, and Bob's death was profound. He had a lot to say as he was dying, and he really made a mark on the group as he was dying.
Or the one kid that died, let himself go so Glenn could get out of the turnabout thingy.
Oh, right. Noah.
Yeah. His death was really profound too.
Yeah.
Glenn had to sit there and watch it, you know, a foot apart.
Listen to us. We're yearning for yesteryear.
We're learning for the gory, sad death of yesteryear. None of the shoving Dr. Carson into an oven. That's awful.
God. That is so funny. All right. What else you got in your rotting potpourri?
I really don't have much. I think that was it.
Really?
Yeah. It sounds like you've got a whole can of worms.
I have to look through because, of course, I have more. So I thought it was really interesting when Negan described Daryl as emotional and kind of held him up against Dwight. Because when you look at it, yeah, Dwight's pretty much a cold fish. I think he's obviously holding a lot in reserve. But to see Daryl described as emotional was really interesting.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But Dwight, look at the deep emotional connections that both of them have. I mean, he's so connected to Daryl is so connected to Carol and Rick, and you know, I think, you know, after living with Aaron and his husband, Daryl, whether he wants to or not, he gets to a deeper emotional level with people than Dwight. And, you know, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people, you know, they don't talk down to him, but they don't treat him as an equal. They don't talk to him like they do each other.
Daryl?
You know? Dwight. Yeah, not Dwight.
Dwight.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
not Dwight. Eugene.
Okay, no, I'm talking about Dwight and Daryl. Dwight versus Daryl.
Oh, okay.
Because Negan throws in Daryl's face, you know, Dwight's face. Daryl's really emotional and kind of implies that Dwight is not.
Oh, that's right. They were talking about how breaking.
Right.
Yeah, breaking him. Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. Did you figure out how they give people numbers versus letters? Because Daryl didn't even have a number. He had a letter. Are the people who have letters even lower than the people who have numbers?
Yeah, I think the people who have to work on the Walker wall, they remember we were talking, they all had letters on spray painted on their sweatsuits. And the people that were like, you know, tradesmen or had things to sell, had numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
the people who are just takers are just who they are.
Right. They have names. I think it's a class system like that. If you're a number, you're the lowest class besides the dead guys on the wall.
If you're a letter, you mean?
If you're a letter.
Yeah.
And if you're a number, you're kind of middle class, I guess. You have to work for your living, and, you know, it's a point system. And then everyone else has a name. And I think it's a way of keeping people in their place. I mean, having a name is very big in societies. Right. I mean, it's always been, you know, don't besmirch my good name, you know. So giving people numbers just sort of keeps them down. And then, you know, having a class that's lower than that kind of, I guess there's where some of the placating is, that, God, at least we're not, a letter.
Right.
So.
Sorry, I'm having flashbacks, flash forwards to our current situation in the United States. I am getting political. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that I really enjoyed the gaming imagery and the gaming language that was used. I mean, Eugene refers to himself, truth of the matter is, I'm not good, I'm not lawful or chaotic, or lawful
Yes.
or neutral or chaotic. I just really enjoyed that. Being a kind of an old gamer and geek, it was fun to see him using that language to describe himself. And that was a callback to some of his earlier lines, when he was talking about, oh God, what did he say to Rosita? Something like negotiating the vagaries of trials, both real and, he didn't say digital, but basically, both real and in games.
Wow, I can't believe you were able to pull that one out.
Well, it's because I just rewatched that episode.
Are you rewatching them in order or just sort of chaotically?
No, well, so I kind of went through a part of season 2, and then now I'm watching 4, 5, and 6, and I'm pretty much feeling like 4 and 5 are my favorite episodes, aside from the pilot itself. I don't know. I just, it's my comfort zone, man.
That's funny.
When I get so depressed I can't listen to podcasts or watch the news, I put on The Walking Dead.
It's your happy place. It's your safe space. It is my happy
place. Yeah. Yeah. It's my snowflake safe place.
Yeah.
Let's see. I thought it was interesting when Eugene said to one of the wives about Negan, "You're replaceable to him. I, on the other hand, am not."
Yeah.
So that definitely goes back to recognizing his importance in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you think of how quickly when Negan was in his room that last time
that he just spit it out?
Before Negan could finish asking the question.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously been thinking about it, and did he say it because he means it, or did he say it because that's what he knows will keep him safe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that it could go either way. I think you're absolutely right. I think he could be totally swayed to be a supporter of the survivors. Or the Negan, saviors, excuse me.
If Negan tests him, do you think that Eugene will be able to rise to the occasion? Because you know how Negan loves to make you go back and do something,
Oh, that would be a really messed up twist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it'd be even worse if it was something like he had to go back and hurt Rosita or go back and hurt Tara.
Right.
He has, I think, a deeper affection for those two than he has for anybody.
Yeah.
What happens if Rosita goes off on one of her half-cocked missions and Eugene ends up opposing her?
Oh, let's hope so.
Bold prediction! Bold prediction!
Well, because a lot of people speculated on whether or not the wives were sent to test him with the poison.
And, he didn't take the bait. He proved that he could do it, but he didn't ultimately give it up.
I was going to say, then why did he make the pills? Like, he actually did make the pills.
I think it's another one of those, look at what I can do. Look at how indispensable I am.
Yeah. But I kind of also think that maybe the wives could have been setting him up, because people seem to kind of be that way where they'll hamstring each other and set each other up, and like Dwight did, in order to get ahead, to gain Negan's trust or to get special treatment, or I could totally see that too, where Negan didn't set him up, but the wives did.
Yeah, I agree.
So anything could happen.
Yes, and I think that's cool.
Yeah,
I think it does get us back to some of those more memorable moments you and I were talking about.
Yeah.
And sneak peek. So on the sneak peek, before we kind of wrap things up, so not just because there appears to be some hot love between Rick and Michonne, but it just looked really good. It looked like a really good episode.
Yeah, it looks like we're building that frantic momentum towards the season finale.
And are we finding new survivors, or is Tara taking them back to the ocean side?
I think Tara has to be taking them back to the ocean.
Because of the guns.
I don't think we can afford to try and build new characters. I mean, I think even though I hate them, I'm not saying this because I hate the Garbage Pail Kids, but I think adding them was even a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that a lot of those people are going to be absolute cannon fodder.
I'm okay with that.
Me too. Me too. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I think we're going to have to go back to what we know. I think Tara is leading them back to Oceans because we got to wrap that up here soon if we're going to wrap it up this season. So.
Well, anything else?
No, I think that will just about do it this week.
I'm going to just share a couple of comments about last week then, and then we'll wrap her up.
Absolutely.
So April Scott on our Facebook page said, I'm so glad I wasn't the only one who was annoyed the entire episode. I was starting to believe that it was just me because the two other podcasts spoke kind of positively about the episode. Annoying is the perfect word to describe this episode. This also is the first season I no longer run home to watch. I've watched the last 2 episodes the following Monday. I feel like I'm stuck in a stale relationship with only memories of the good old days holding us together. Boy, considering we just spent like 10 minutes going on and on and on about the deaths of our favorite characters, yeah, I kind of get it.
I was pining about yeah.
And Brian's response was, we're not on anyone's payroll. Hopefully it picks up soon. So I have to tell you, there are 3 Walking Dead podcasts that I typically listen to. One pretty faithfully, the other 2 kind of hit or miss. All 3 of them were surprisingly positive about last week.
Yeah.
There was one that kind of trashed the Garbage Pail Kids a little bit, no pun intended, but they were definitely more positive than the 3 of us felt about last week.
Yeah. I kept seeing these positive things online, and I'm like, okay, maybe I was just grumpy.
No, because as you pointed out at the beginning, it's very rare for the 3 of us to be on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Art Mora said about last week, I have come to terms with this new group, so I've decided the new group, are all low-dosing LSD. Okay, now it makes sense.
No, microdosing LSD is really good, I hear. It's microdosing.
Art also said, I was complaining to my sister about this new group. They talk weird. What's that about? There isn't any reason for it. And she had some good points in response. They talk as little as possible so they're not heard. And stealthy, they dress in black. Maybe their theatrical movements are stealthy too. And I think he's got a point. I think that's what they were shooting for, what The Walking Dead was shooting for. It looked ridiculous.
It did. The drill team thing was totally unnecessary, and then their weird clipped like speak.
Yeah, up.
I'm like, are these like disciples of Ned Flanders or what?
Right.
From The Simpsons. Sometimes I get that I think that I have to explain my references because I'm getting to that age where for those of you under like 28, my Madam Trash Heap references Fraggle Rock.
Oh, good one. I missed that.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of Fraggle Rock when I was a kid.
The little rats. The trash heap is spoken. Yeah.
Okay,
that's all I kept thinking.
That's totally what I'm going to think of from now on whenever I see the Garbage Pail Kid.
Jade is just going to speak, and in your head you're going to be like, the trash heap is spoken.
So one more thing I said back to Art on the Facebook page, in all fairness, I have to remind myself that everyone responds differently to trauma. So that was the one thing that I kind of thought, in fairness to the Garbage Pail Kids, is, they all seem to have absorbed the trauma of the ZA in this particular way.
Yeah, and somebody else did point out on an article that their dress and their manner of speech and everything is so that they are a group that is set apart. It throws off your enemies, and it makes you feel like a cohesive group, you know, if you all share the same something, whatever that something is. So I get it. I absolutely get where they were going with it. It just, it came off as weird to me.
Yeah,
it was poorly executed.
It was a misstep all the way. And I feel like there are more of us who felt that way than people who were just ecstatic about the episode, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess we could spend all night reminiscing and trashing the Trash Pile Kids, so...
We could! But I have a recommendation for you and everybody else. If you have not seen the girl with all the gifts...
Oh, now is this is not the one that was kind of, sort of based on it with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're talking about the new one.
Correct.
Oh, where did you watch it? Because I really want to see it. The book was so good.
It's out on DVD now.
Oh, yes. Okay, I can rent that. Awesome.
So not what I was expecting. It initially had a very 28 Days Later feel. But it was very, very good. I enjoyed it. It had a really cool scientific-y twist that I was like, that's one we haven't seen. So
cool. Oh, I will totally look for that. We may even have to stay up late, although tomorrow's a work day, and watch it tonight because I really loved that book. And props to Jason and Karen over at the Walking Dead cast. Jason is the reason I read that book.
Oh, excellent.
And that's one of the podcasts that I still listen to extremely faithfully.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're looking for a little bit of a good old fashioned zombie movie, with a little bit of a 28 Days Later feel to it, where it's kind of smart and edgy and modern. I definitely would recommend that. I also like, they call them hungries. They don't call them walkers or zombies. They call them hungries.
And that's from the book.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's all I have to speak.
Excellent. I am really excited to hear about that. And just for anybody who might be kind of interested in what we're doing with Preacher, we are going to do another podcast because we're going to try to get caught up and actually podcast on time when it comes back. So I think we're going to podcast middle of this week. So it'll probably be available toward the end of this week.
Yep.
Ruth Negga, who plays Tulip, was up for an Academy Award last night. Unfortunately, she did not get it, but she won in my heart.
Are you sure? Maybe it went to La La Land.
Right. By mistake. And the movie that she was in, Loving, is out on DVD and streaming as well. So that's definitely on my watch list.
Absolutely. Also, I've seen that we've had a couple of check-ins on that Facebook page.
So thank you. If it's anybody from Biters, we sure appreciate you giving us some support there too.
And welcome to the new Biters. We've had quite a few people join the group in the past couple of weeks. So welcome.
Yeah. And please leave us feedback in Facebook. Leave some information that we can share on our next podcast. Feel free to rate us on iTunes. We would just love to hear from you anyway.
Yeah, we're pretty interactive, so drop us a line.
All right, so on that note, just remember,
let's take it one dead day at a time.
Hey, you and I did that pretty well.
We did. My my sound kept cutting out, so you were Morse coding it into me.
All right, everybody, have a good week.
Have a good week.